So look, there's generally I find a big fear HR folks may have is when they're going through layoffs, knowing that they're going to be on the chopping block. I mean, that is a really tough and vulnerable spot to be in. So a lot of people are asking, like, should I be interviewing? Should I go down with the ship? Should I start asking when my time's going to be? Because at the end of the day, I'm sitting here giving these people their final notices. I'm taking on a lot of like, just a lot of like anxiety, a lot of like, these are hard, critical conversations to have, right? So when that happens and you're going through a massive layoff, what ends up happening is people think, man, this is really hard to digest because I'm having to let people go and I'm absorbing all that emotional like feeling. I mean, because you have to have a high EQ to be in HR anyhow and do it effectively. But to go through a layoff and then turn around and expect that the company's not going to lay you off as well, that that honestly is it's a difficult time. And right now, there's a lot of HR people going through that. And one of the things you want to make sure that you do when you're going through this time is feel free to have critical conversations when you need it. Because at the end of the day, if this is how you pay your bills, if you're living check to check, or if you can afford a certain amount of runway before you need to get another job, then maybe before you go through the layoffs, you just say, hey, as a HR executive that's going to have to go through this as well, at what point are we, what's the timeline here? What are we looking at doing? And you almost want to create a schedule for the layoffs, and that will help you alleviate a lot of your fears because you'll know if you're part of the plan or if you're not, right? So that will also help you out in figuring out the timing of when can I start interviewing for what. So if you believe, like for your role as an example, hey, I need about a good, and believe me, the higher you get on the HR ladder, the longer it's going to take for you to get a role. If you're a senior level HR business partner, not as many roles open. If you're a chief people officer, not as many roles open, right? So what you want to do is, if you're worried about the layoffs, is have that critical conversation with your team now. And look, if you're afraid to have that critical conversation now, then you already know it's time likely for you to leave. So you want to talk about all the things that you enjoy about your current job. Then you want to talk about all the things that are making you anxious and fearful. And then on the next opportunity, you want to ask yourself, well, if I go back and I look at it, is this new company going to solve for that fear I have? Yes or no? You'll know right away because you'll start to feel relaxed just thinking about it. Then from there, you know that you're in a good spot to want to move on to your next gig. If you feel like you need to focus and have your entire concentration be on this layoff, then what I would recommend you do is you have to negotiate a severance package, likely, right? Where, hey, well, once you cut me off and we're done, I need 6 months for me to find a job. So I need 6 months of paid Cobra. I need 6 months of salary. I need 6 months of something so that I can focus on getting my job and recovering from this. Because I'll tell you guys, like having to go through a layoff and tell people to pack their bags, it is emotionally draining. And I don't think HR people get enough credit for having to do that. So I know that right now there's a lot of us out there who are going through layoffs, having to deliver bad news and wondering, hey, is it going to be me next? Well, look, have these critical conversations. But first, maybe have that critical conversation with yourself and those that you trust around you, your mastermind group. It could be your family, your spouse, your friend, a trusted advisor, a mentor, or, hey, give me a ring if it's something you need to chat on. I mean, our network and our ecosystem is always hiring for something. I'm not always the first person to say, yeah, you should absolutely quit your job. I'll push back and ask you some questions that I think you should look at. And hey, I totally get that this could be a challenging time. And, if that is a fear of yours, I would say that, reach out and, reach out to us, reach out to your HR community and find a way to talk about it so you can get clear on where you're at. And then if you can, have a critical conversation with your employer. And I think you'll find that a lot of your fears will immediately go away, even as soon as you start to have your first conversation on it.